Welcome to Doron Yoga, everyone. Today we're going to learn and look a bit about different sitting options for meditation. Meditation is one of the most important practices both in the world of yoga and Zen and mindfulness. It really is a great way to train your mind. However, if you don't sit correctly, your mind may be constantly obsessing with the discomfort of the body. Some of it will be pretty obvious, but a lot of it will offer you little tips to really make sure that it's both sustainable in terms of taking care of your body, as well as even building strength and the right ability to sit. We have videos that instruct you how to do yoga into meditation. And so here we'll learn the basic foundation of how to sit for meditation. Okay? So we'll begin with looking at a few different props, and then Kasha here will help us to see how to sit in the different options. Okay? So Kasha right now, as well as myself, I'll move so you can see, are sitting on a little cushion. We actually made this here in Guatemala at our yoga and Zen center by stuffing some fabric. You can use any pillow. Ideally, it's not super soft so you don't sit and collapse into it, but it's got a bit of firmness. So a cushion is great. Purchasing a meditation cushion, I think, is super duper worth it. And I'll post down below in the comments a link to one of my favorite meditation cushions, so you can look at that if you want. A block works great as well. It's not as giving and comfortable, so if you're sitting for a long time, it may end up being a bit like on your butt, but it depends how soft the butt is. But if you have a soft cushion or medium soft and a block, ta-da, one on top of the other. A blanket, such as people use a lot in yoga, a yoga blanket, sometimes they call it a Mexican blanket. Again, any blanket really works. You can fold it as many times as needed to sit on it, and then it has both some firmness but soft enough. And then, of course, you can pile up as many things as you need to. Some people have even things like this in the house. And this is just a big, fluffy, not meditation cushion, a decoration cushion, which is filled with some beads. And so this would be really perfect as well. The thing is that the higher you sit, the more space you have for your hips. So I'll get into it a bit more, but let's start looking at it like really physically with Kasha here, so we can start to understand what to do. So I'm actually going to ask Kasha to turn around so we can see her sitting sideways. We'll also talk about different leg options. So if Kasha is sitting, well, we'll start actually without anything on the ground, and she's kind of a flexible woman, a long-time yogi. So for her, she can sit on the ground relatively easy with the spine straight and the legs crossed. For most of us, if we sit this way, the knees will probably be way higher up and the spine will be more slumped. And it may feel really cool for the first 3 minutes, and then you'll wonder why after meditation you have a backache. So one of the things that we're seeking in when we're sitting is to have the hips a little higher than the knees. That's one. And two, lengthen the spine so you can have prana flow smoothly and nicely. In order to have the spine long, you want to try and get the hips to turn forward. We call this anterior tilt of the hips, right? So as the hips move forward, right, this creates the lordosis, the healthy lordosis of the lower back curve. And when you have that healthy S curve that the spine normally has, you can actually sit longer without any discomfort. Simply by sitting on this little bit of cushion, right, we can see already that the hips are now about the same height, if not even higher than the knees, and there's easier to have the tilt of the hips forward. So if you're pretty open like Kasha is, this is probably just enough for you to sit on a little cushion. You can notice that as she's sitting on the cushion, she's sitting on the edge of the cushion. Why is that? When we sit on the edge of the cushion, it creates the movement forward with the hips, which creates, again, the curve in the spine, not an exaggerated one, but enough to support our spine. When we sit further back on the hips, it is a little bit more conducive to slumpasana, to slumping, okay? Let's look at what happens if I help Kasha go taller. So I'm going to put 2 cushions, one on top of the other, and now she's going to sit, not on the back, but closer a bit to the edge, like so. Again, you can see that the cushions are actually tilting, right? It's way thicker on the back, way narrower forward. This is really much more ideal than even before. The hips are way higher than the knees. The knees are now resting on the ground, and the spine is tall. This is what you're looking for. For some of you, like I said, easily instead of this, sit on a really high bolster. Sit on 2 bolsters. Sit on 4. If you're old enough and you remember back in the day they existed yellow pages, sit on 4 yellow pages and put a blanket on top of that. And just every day pull out 1 page, and in 3 years you'll see you'll be able to take out a book or 2 of yellow pages. Okay? So this is the sitting position that you want. Hips higher than the knees, slight tilt in the lower back, upper back tall, head right over the shoulders. So in a way, the ear should be about over the shoulder, the shoulder more or less right over the hip bone. Okay? Then from here, the chin tucks a tiny bit down, really just the slightest thing. So there's really length in the neck, and this helps you kind of take your gaze lower down, and that's it. The hand position we can look at later, but this is really today we want to focus on the sitting position. Okay? So remember, elevate yourself. Elevate your hips as much as needed. Okay? When, Kasha, please turn to the front. Once you have that, there's a few different ways to sit with your legs. I'll give Kasha 1 pillow right now, 1 cushion. You can start with simple cross-legged, right? For many of us, this is comfortable. For many of us, this is not so comfortable. But you can try it. There's the Burmese version where we sit 1 leg in front of the other. So both legs are on the ground. And for some of us, this is actually a common meditation sitting position in Asia. And for many people, this is comfortable. Some traditionalists say you must put the right foot closer to the body and the left foot outside. See how it feels for you. Whatever helps you sit comfortably and train the mind, that's really what matters, okay? So this is another way. Over time, especially since you'll be practicing with us many of our YouTube yoga classes, and one day even here in person at Lake Atitlan at Doron Yoga and Zen Center, you will start to open up your hips enough to move into the half lotus, Ardha Padmasana. Once you go into half lotus, it means that one of your legs, one of your feet, has come up on top of the thigh. This is a lovely pose, and it prepares you for the full Padmasana, because in the full Padmasana you're the most stable. If you end up doing half lotus, what I recommend is doing one of 2 things. If you meditate for half an hour, you can change every 15 minutes. If you meditate for 10 minutes, maybe do one day 10 minutes, and the other day do the other leg, so that over time you get to balance both legs, and you won't have only one leg in half lotus, so you can build towards the full lotus. The full lotus, you have both legs up, and this really helps a lot with the movement of the hips forward, with the knees down, and you can feel much more stable and stay here for longer periods of time. Unless lotus is new for you, then you'll come to a place where feet fall asleep and it gets really uncomfortable, okay? And if it does, that's great. Work through it. Over time, it gets easier. Feet fall asleep, you said? Oh yeah, I did say that. Is that okay? Is that normal? Yes, it is. After, what is it? Maybe 30 years of sitting in meditation for me, my feet, when I sit in lotus, still sometimes fall asleep. How come? Your foot is higher than the knee. When the foot is up, the blood flows the reverse direction. Sometimes it can fall asleep. You can get tingling. In most cases, unless you'll sit here for 7 hours, or I'm not sure exactly how long, your foot is probably not falling apart. So unless it feels like, wow, this is really uncomfortable, and then by all means, release, get another position, and come back to meditation. I'm not one of those meditation stick hitters that tell you never move, never change. I'm just saying, try not to move because your mind is out of comfort every 2 seconds. This day and age, we're used to flipping. We don't like something, we flip to another page, we swipe right, we do whatever it is to get comfortable in whatever we want. Part of the training is to not be so reactive to every little discomfort. So stay with it for a while, and then as it's uncomfortable, you can bring your hands to the heart and switch positions, okay? So this is the full lotus, what you're working towards. You can be enlightened without ever sitting in lotus. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This is not a requirement. It's just more steady and comfortable. Okay? So these are the different leg positions. There are more leg positions, of course, but I wanted to give you the foundational ones. Now, if all of this kind of works or doesn't work for you, I'll show you one more thing where it's completely different with the legs, where we bend the legs backwards. So right now we're going to use 2 bolsters or two cushions for that. And if you have a bolster, that works really well. You put it lengthwise and you sit with your hips back and the knees forward, right? So Kasha has her knees close together. If you're new to this, you will probably sit more like this with the knees wider. Over time, bring the knees closer in. This may not work for you right away. The higher you sit, the easier it is. Think about it. If you go really, really high, it's almost like you're sitting on a chair. So if you have knee surgery background or knee pain or it hurts a lot, sometimes it hurts a lot on this part, right, on your foot, because this is really doing a point. So if you haven't been a ballerina and practiced that, this may hurt you, right? So simply elevate your hips as much as needed. I recommend doing all of this. We, as you can see here, set ourselves up on a yoga mat. You can just put a blanket. You can put a carpet, right? Some people sell meditation foundation cushions, right? In the Zen tradition, you have a square one for you to sit, and then for you to put your legs, and then a round one on top of that for you to sit. I purposely didn't bring any fancy common meditation things because I wanted to show you that you don't need to have the perfect right equipment for meditation. Anything works. A rock in your garden will do, sincerely, okay? So this is it here. Try not to let the feet go out to the side. As I mentioned, we're going to try this one more time. I'll show you just the more higher elevated. Actually, I'll take the bigger cushion, and Kasha will sit the same way as she just did now. And you can see, look at that smile. It just really is, even if you have a comfortable yoga practice, very flexible, sometimes it just really feels so much easier to sit tall, to have less pressure on the legs. When I used to do these longer, week-long or longer meditations where we sit all day long, sometimes even the lotus, as comfortable as it is, it's like, I can't do it anymore. And I would switch to this. And this is super duper comfortable, okay? So those are just some of the different meditation seated positions. Check out, we'll have another video that will talk about the different hand mudras, hand positioning for meditation, and gaze and the basic instruction for Zen meditation, okay? But for now, we wanted to focus on literally how to sit. And this is very important. Going back, rule number 1, elevate your hips. Make your hips higher than your knees. Very much noticed here. Rule number 2, sit on the edge of whatever you're sitting so you can tilt your pelvis forward in order to maintain a bit of the curve of the lower back, just a natural curve, not any exaggerated curve, so you can sit tall and feel supported, okay? If during meditation, happens to me plenty, you just find yourself starting to go into slumpasana, simply take an inhale and gently, slowly come up. Maybe it takes you 3 inhales. It doesn't have to be a dramatic move. And it's okay. Don't be hard on yourself. Oh, I slumped. So what? Oh, I went into thinking mode. When that happens, your head will normally fall down. You notice, you take a breath, you lengthen the spine, and you come back to breathing. Okay? So remember, none of this is fixed or fixated or should be causing you any kind of anxiety. These are just tools to help you sit more comfortable so you can sit longer, happier, and come into a lovely state of bliss. Thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully this is helpful. Let us know what you think. If you have any other meditation-related questions, we're more than happy to support you and help you, as we are very big on yoga and Zen and meditation together. Namaste.